Well, we've got something a little bit different for you today. I've been working on my Shimanami mural. Now, to be totally clear, I had never done anything like this before, so I really had no idea what I was doing. But I first imagined this mural, the outside of our Honeybee Workshop, probably 3 years ago. And then about 18 months ago, I started actively preparing the wall, fixing the cracks, and painting the white base coat. I did make a brief video about that, but it was a long time ago. I have not done any work on this in the past year until just the past week or so. Now, before we get to the actual mural part of the mural, I wanted to show you this big, beautiful blue garage bay door. Now, this was the first part of the mural that brought me to tears. This was last summer. I started doing this and I had to stop because it was simply too hot and my paint was drying so fast that I couldn't even get it once I poured it into the tray, and even using paint thinner to keep it nice and liquidy, it just absolutely was not working. And let me tell you, painting a garage door like this is one of the most challenging surfaces to paint. It doesn't look like it would be that hard to paint one solid color, but all of these are individual slats that of course need to roll up and down for the door to function correctly. And each one of these surfaces is a perfect little area for paint to want to pool and leave little paint strings in between. So this actually took 4 solid days of work just to do this door. So fast forward about a year from the blue garage door, and here we are in the middle of May. It is once again about to get super hot, and it'll stay super hot until the middle of October. So I had to get going on the mural pretty quickly if I didn't want to have to put it off again for a whole additional year. So I started with this little wall here. I knew I wanted the mural to wrap around the entire outside perimeter of the Honeybee Workshop, and this little wall is the easiest one to paint due to the elevation and the shape of the road. And it also gives me a nice small canvas to do a test proof of concept. Now, let me tell you, it might look good now, but my first attempt is the second time that this mural project brought me to tears. It was absolutely awful. I first tried to blend the sky blue, the baby blue that's up under the eaves, into the pink, then into the orange, and then into the yellow. And let me tell you, that blue to pink just turned a really ugly gray. So that didn't work at all, and I had to start over, and Evan convinced me to start over. I was about ready to take a sledgehammer to the building and just pretend the project never happened. And thankfully, my second attempt, I think, was successful. So this single piece of wood with my ideal gradient painted on it was a suggestion from Evan, and this actually helped me incredibly to duplicate the gradient on all the walls surrounding the workshop. I've left one wall unfinished, so at the end of this video, I'll show you how I did this. I know it's not perfect. Again, you know, I've never done anything like this before, and it's not exactly what I envisioned even. It sort of evolved as I was painting, but I am pretty happy with the end result. So here you can see, if I hold this up, it matches pretty well. So as I was painting along, I would refer back to this just to make sure that I was continuing the gradient in the correct proportions all the way around the whole building. So here's just a little bit of a close-up so you can see I've got a dark blue trim on top with the classic New Orleans sky blue underneath the eave. Then we go into the sunset pink where it fades down into an orange. This is an actual mix of the pink and yellow paint. Then it fades down into the yellow, and below that we have the islands, our horizon line, and the Sato Sea. I also painted the little details like the inside of the windowsill, the same dark blue as the trim, as well as the end wall here and the rain downspouts. So the mural has a nice framing of the dark blue. That turned out even better than I thought. I actually really love that little detail. Here's another look at a cute dark blue detail. So I started by painting the trim and the underside of the eave last year. The wall had a white base coat. Then I came in, painted the sunset. After that, I painted the blue of the sea. Then I came back and painted the islands. You can see this portion still has a jagged edge of the green. All right, so these are all of my very sophisticated supplies. It reminds me of a story when I was going to graphic design school in college, and one of our assignments was to do a digital illustration in sort of a realistic style. And I used a mouse to do the digital illustration instead of most of my classmates were using a tablet. And my instructor told me that that was like painting with a potato. And I guess I am just sort of painting with a potato because I'm using just really cheap brushes and literal kitchen sponges. So here in our part of the Japanese countryside, we don't have the luxury of going to the local Home Depot and having an entire paint department where you pick out the exact perfect swatch and then they mix it there for you on site. So what we have in our area and pretty much the surrounding area is it's pre-mixed paint. So you really go in and then they've got like a couple dozen colors to choose from. Now my sky blue is one that they have on hand in the store at all times, but all the other colors, that's this different brand here, we had to special order, but they did deliver them directly to our little island, which was very convenient. So for the sunset, I ordered this nice pink and this sunshine yellow. And then the only mixing that I actually did was to mix those two together to make the orange in the middle of the gradient. And then I ordered this forest green for the mountains and the sky blue that I already mentioned. So now that I sort of feel confident that I have a method that I can duplicate, I've saved this final wall here for this video so I can show you the process. So what I have here is one coat of pink and one coat of yellow. As you can see, it's kind of splotchy. So to get started, what I'm going to do is real quickly paint a second coat. That's also going to give me those two colors that I can blend with the orange. So the goal is to keep everything as wet as possible during the blending, so we have to work really quickly. So this is the blend that I made yesterday. You can see it's sort of a peachy orange, the pink and the yellow. I'm going to use two sponges for this. One I will use to mix the paints together and it's going to get super saturated with paint. The other I'm going to keep clean, and that'll make sense because this one will be used for blending up on the wall. And then we're going to hope that it matches. Every time I blended this, it really just sort of does it. Just happened to luck out and get the pretty good. Oh, it's pretty good. I think we got lucky again. So what I'm doing right now is just throwing this second coat up. You can see that the first coat covered really well. So the second coat can just be kind of sloppy, and we're really just trying to get nice wet paint up on the wall. All right, so now I'm just going to paint a big messy patch of orange here in the middle. We're going to feather this after we slop it up there, and then just let it sit for a minute. So we make sure that we don't have any hard line between the yellow and the purple transition behind the orange. And by feathering, I just literally mean we're just going to do some of this. So we're just avoiding any hard lines at this time. And this is the sponge that I use to mix the paint, so it's the one that's really saturated. And now I just let this dry for a tiny bit. This is the part that's obviously the hardest. You're working with wet paints, so they're gonna muddy up the implements. I don't know if there's an easier way that I don't know about. So I'm just using my somewhat clean orange sponge to bring this down from what seems to be the middle of the orange. I really don't want to get any orange on that nice blue door. Okay, so I'm bringing this down. That seems good. That's like a little further than it should be going. I'm gonna really load up the orange in the center. It doesn't seem to be an issue with really using too much paint. And I am too cool for paint trays, so we're just dipping directly into the paint bucket. That also does not seem to be a problem. You just want to make sure, and I can go back with a brush later and just make sure that down here is solid yellow. We don't want any orange past the gradient. It's obviously not perfect, but that's sort of the beauty of it. I can't see around the corner, so I don't know how. Tiny bit higher.
Yeah, like 2 inches.
Okay. Good thing is that the height of the gradient is not above the height of this garage door. So I just have to paint a solid pink above the garage door. Thank goodness. How far do I need to bring it down?
A little bit too far.
A little too far. Is that high enough?
That's good, that's perfect.
Okay. I need my measuring stick. All right, well, here you have my loosey-goosey, messy sponge painting sunset gradient technique. At this point, it is somewhat reproducible, so I guess I could go around painting sunsets everywhere, but I'm just gonna stick with the outside of the Honeybee Workshop for now. Well, Evan's gotta go work, so I'm gonna finish up this teeny tiny little bit of gradient here, which is my last section that I need to do. I'm going to do some touch-ups, finish up the islands, clean up the horizon line, and then we will reconvene with this video after that harsh sun goes behind the mountains this evening and we get our nice soft evening light to come out here, and we'll walk you all along the outside. All right, here's the finished product. We're going to take you on a speed run around the outside here. So starting with the first wall that was completed. Then I worked on these walls here at the Y intersection. And then coming around the corner, you can see that we are not 100% done. I don't have a ladder that lets me paint the pink up on that top, but we are 100% done with the sunset, the islands, and the water for now. I tried to make the landscape look as realistic as possible. So I did draw from actual mountains. This large mountain here is actually right down there. It's a slightly different angle. This is Ikuchijima. And if you know the layout of the Shimanami Kaido, you know that Ikuchijima is the one that has Tatara Bridge, beautiful Tatara Bridge connecting here to Omishima. I'm not sure if I'm going to paint that bridge or not, because it might involve needing some foreground elements, and I don't know if I really want to add that in or not. So we'll see. What do you think? Should I add Tatara Bridge and a little bit of Omishima to this mural? Now, the rest of these islands were randomly generated by the world's most powerful processor, which is my brain. So I guess you can say that this mural is completely AI generated, as in artistic intelligence. I literally just painted them without even drawing in pencil first. And however the mountains turned out, that's how they turned out. All right, y'all, thanks for coming along on this mural painting project. We've always got something new going on here at Benton Homestead, so we'll see you in the next video. For now, at the end, here let's look at some before and after photos. Sumi.